Hey, welcome everyone to Content Supply Live. I am the host, Dallin. We're here with our team. We got some Brenden, we got Kate, we got Justine. What we're looking to do here with Content Supply is really talk about what's trending now in marketing, in the B2B space, and start to talk about how we can take what's working now and apply it to our business and help you apply it to yours as well. So in doing so, we're going to be hitting on different topics today. And the first topic we're going to talk about as a whole panel is the TikTok ban. So it's January 2025. Kate, kind of cue up this TikTok ban. What's going on right now?
Yeah, for sure. So we're recording this on January 13th, which is Monday, which means we're 5 days away from the proposed TikTok ban. And I'll be the first to say I really didn't think we would see this day come, because when this was first started to be talked about in the media, there was a lot of people saying, oh, TikTok is just going to be bought by an American company. There really won't be any major changes. And if there is any major changes, those are going to happen months and maybe years from now. So I'm kind of surprised that this is happening and we're 5 days away from what looks like a pretty solid ban. The ban is set to happen on the 17th, which is the last day of Biden's term, which is not a coincidence. I was just researching this and I was surprised to see that Trump has actually kind of come around on his ideas and his thoughts towards TikTok. He used to be a staunch, he did not want TikTok to be a part
China.
of America. Yes.
Yeah.
He did not like
Chinese
China.
company. It's got spyware all over it.
Exactly. And he's kind of come around, and now he's in staunch support of the app still being part of, or American users still having access to it. So it should be interesting to see what happens the next several months. Maybe it disappears and then Trump is able to bring it back. We'll just have to see what happens. But obviously this is of great concern to people who have small businesses on social media or trying to market courses or podcasts, or it's really just going to be a big hit to the B2B space because a lot of people rely on this for their marketing. Personally, what I'm most upset about is losing TikTok's amazing SEO. I feel like I can put into the TikTok search engine any trending audio, any weird combination of words that is like going into my mind, and I'll be able to find exactly the video I'm thinking of. And Instagram is just not the same. So that's the thing that I'm going to be missing the most. But I'm curious to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on this TikTok ban?
Well, there's one of the proposed buyers is Kevin O'Leary. So if you guys know the guy from Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful, he's proposed to potentially purchase it without the algorithm, and he's pretty down to invest in it, which I think he's a great figurehead for it, to be honest. But the only reason it's banned is because of the spyware that's attached inside of the software. So I think if they can find an agreement, there's already an American company that's lined up, ready to do it. So if the Supreme Court decides to strike it down, there's a buyer lined up. So the TikTok won't go anywhere. I don't think it will, because everything's lined up. There's people ready to buy it right now that have that are American or Canadian backing. They're going to design the software with free speech in mind, and so I don't think I'd be worried about that. But I definitely, my wife always talks about the searchability of TikTok. Me personally, I actually think the YouTube algorithm is better for my content that I watch. The YouTube short form algorithm is by far the most addicting in my mind. But I also am a guy, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Because most gals I know are mostly on TikTok. But what do you think, Dallin?
I was going to say, I don't know a single girl in my whole network that I've never heard of them watching YouTube shorts, but I think it is like a lot of guys like watching it, which is so funny.
Me and all the guys in my band, we were talking about like the social media, and I've had a few of them. My one guy that's my bassist in my band, he said I deleted my Instagram for the last 2 months, but I'm on YouTube every day though. So
Which it still gives the same experience. I was going to say with TikTok, which is interesting, one angle I've heard in addition to like the algorithm or like, the spyware, Brenden, you're mentioning, is also the type of content that's distributed to younger audiences, where in China, where ByteDance is based, a lot of their content's curated for the younger audience to be more education based and more kid friendly, supposedly, where it's just like, it's a crapshoot a little bit in America, where it's like you can be fed like really inappropriate content. You can be fed really educational content. You can be fed just everything in between across the spectrum of different styles and content. And so I think that's of concern and has been brought up at that angle around content moderation or content just like filters or appropriateness for the target audience. And so I think that's more, it's probably at the level like censorship in a way, maybe in China, with their type of government. But I think there needs to be a consideration on that. Granted, at a broader scale with social media and like kids as the users, I think it's a fault to the parents of not, being a parent and stepping in and giving some form of discipline or control on what media is consumed. But I think that's an interesting take on it. And also the alternatives, right? Like TikTok in America I feel like it's still feels relatively new to me. I know it's been around for a while, but it's one of those things where it's like TikTok, came after Instagram came after Facebook. And so there's always new platforms to come to the scene to offer something new or different. And TikTok has evolved. Kate, you mentioned how it becomes like your search engine, and how a lot of people are buying products with the shopping features or discovering restaurants, and it's kind of replaced Google search or even like ChatGPT for some. And so, but Justine, you mentioned that you learned about some alternatives, right, to TikTok that are kind of trending right now.
I did, yeah. So I heard about this site. It's called Redno, actually. And it jumped to the number one on the App Store as this TikTok ban looms a little bit, which I find interesting because this Redno app is also like a Chinese app as well. So it's just interesting. It has like the very similar features to TikTok. It has like short form like reels or just short form videos. I'm not sure what the algorithm looks like on it. I haven't been a Red Note user yet. If TikTok is banned, then I see myself being on Red Note. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, no, it's just interesting how new platforms are coming up and wanting to replace TikTok because TikTok has been super popular over the past, 4 years since it really started. Really, since COVID, it's just really popped up. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see what happens if TikTok actually does go away.
I think it also goes to show when you put all your eggs in one social media platform, it's not a good idea. In 9 times out of 10, my brother had a podcast that was mainly YouTube based, and it got taken off YouTube at some point. Luckily, he was spreading it to like 7 or 8 different platforms. But once YouTube or a platform goes dark or deletes your stuff or whatever, it's gone. So I think if people are putting all their eggs in the TikTok basket, or they did, that they need to start pulling their audience to like 2 or 3 other platforms, kind of diversify where your audience is. Granted, it's good to focus on one generally, but for a safe bet, if it were me, I would not put my eggs in the TikTok basket at this moment. It might be the time to buy stock in TikTok because it's probably tanking. So but
Well, I think it's interesting from like a channel distribution standpoint with content, right? In your media is that, of course, you want to distribute across multiple channels, but there's really 3 main types of channels that we publish on. And I don't think everyone fully realizes, more of the marketing nerds, of course, recognize this, where it's like earned media, owned media, and paid media are the 3 types of distribution channels. And so when you don't own your media channel, then the gods with a little g at TikTok can completely destroy, that channel and that channel of distribution for you, and it could completely disrupt your business and hurt your business. So one of those, and that's why to invest in your owned channel, like your website, and like other channels, like podcasts can become an owned channel because you own that RSS feed. But that's why it's important to have blogging in place, video distributed to your site, in a way that like you basically become your own TikTok of sorts. Yeah, there we go. Your own TikTok of sorts. So that way people can learn directly from you and your brand. And so this is something actually at Content Supply that we do is we help B2B companies become media companies by investing in growing their three distribution channels: owned, earned, and paid media. But yeah, like as we wrap up this topic, guys, like what do you think this means for like marketers and B2B companies who rely so much on TikTok to engage with their audience? Like, what is that next step, do you think, for them?
I think it's definitely an uncertain time for a lot of business owners. I think the thing that differentiates TikTok from other platforms like Instagram or YouTube Shorts is a lot of the creators there have felt a sense of just casualness to the platform. It's not super buttoned up. I feel like a lot of creators are a little bit more cheeky sometimes on their TikToks than they are on Instagram or YouTube or definitely LinkedIn. So I'm curious to see what happens there. I did find on my research that you can get access to, you can buy like a VPN, which will hide the location of your laptop or your phone device. So some people have been using VPNs to still access TikTok. So we'll see if maybe a lot of people will jump on the train, maybe not, but we'll just have to see. But that is a workaround for anyone who's just not ready to kick their TikTok addiction yet. You can just get a little shady by a VPN.
Well, watch, something will come into the scene that's like a complete ripoff, 100% of TikTok. And it'll be like Big Bok or something, and just completely take over that market share.
Yeah, Dallin, maybe that's your next business venture.
Big Bok.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, let's jump into our other topic. This one is definitely very timely, right? So we're going to talk about what the LA fires, what's happening with the LA fires right now. Obviously, it's very devastating. It's a very sensitive topic. It's also highly impactful on many levels, whether it's financially, mentally, physically, spiritually. Like the list goes on of how this is impacting people in California and outside of California, those who have friends or family. I moved from California, LA, about 4 years ago. So I have friends and colleagues there. Their fire season is kind of like tornado season or hurricane season. It happens predictably like once a year. So like that's not anything new, but I think the scale of this fire is something for the history books, and the visuals are pretty devastating. So, of course, beyond sending our prayers and definitely the support to those who are victims of the devastation there. One, I think, interesting take, as we are a fully remote team, we run a marketing company, we promote our business as well as our clients' businesses. I think it's interesting to consider when something definitely warrants a lot of attention in the news cycle on many levels, like the LA fires, or whether that's the wars, across overseas, other unrest in trending news. At what point do you say put a pause on promoting your business or publishing content that doesn't have to be about the LA fires? And at what point do you think it is relevant to keep promoting regardless of what is going on in the world? Do you guys have any perspectives or thoughts on that from, say, like a marketing perspective, of whether you pause promotions altogether or you keep promoting?
I think if you were going to stop promoting based on every single thing that happens in the world, you might as well just not market your business, in my personal opinion. There's times to look back and reflect and use your platform and your audience, maybe put together a donation or do something to help people directly with what you do. Not only is that a positive thing to just do in the world and you don't need notoriety or recognition for it, but I think you can use and leverage. I mean, it's a horrible quote that I can't remember which politician said it, but don't let a good crisis go to waste, basically. You can use that in a positive way. You know what I'm saying? Don't let a crisis and people going through a horrible thing stop you from being able to like get out and do something positive for them. Not necessarily have to be like, oh, let's go, go see if we can buy up some cheap land in LA now that everything's burned to the ground. Like those garbage people that think that. Like, I'm not a fan of those types of folks. It's more of the how do you use this opportunity to help. And I think you can talk about these topics. You can say, like, we've had some clients directly affected by it. Like, there's some podcasts I listen to that it's literally like 5 minutes up the road from where they record their podcasts. And it's really close to Culver City, where we were shooting that We Don't Always Agree podcast. The edge of the fire is like literally you could probably jog in 5 minutes from where the edge of the evacuation zone to where we were filming. So, and beautiful places, millions and millions and millions of dollars of damage. And, you have to share some humanity. So I think it's a positive thing to constantly be sharing in good taste. And if it has a positive spin, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I've got a similar take on that too. I was sharing before, and it's like, it's tricky, right? Because like obviously people's lives, their livelihoods, their whole worlds just go up in flames. Unfortunately, and it's just impacted on many levels. And yet there are thousands, millions, billions of people all around the world who are living lives and running businesses, being employed, who can't pause what they're doing when something happens in other parts of the world or country. And it's a tricky fine line, right? Like, you're not going to please everyone. If you're, no matter where you're living, right? If you're all about the news cycle of all these LA fires, like, of course you got to put space and attention to that. But I think regardless of what's going on, I think you need to keep like contributing to your livelihood. It doesn't mean you can't donate, of course, and provide support and prayers that way. But I really do think that, and I believe you got to keep promoting. You got to keep, contributing to your business, because that is important to your own livelihood, like your own world. No matter how it's impacted, because we all have struggles, large and small, that happen every day, around the world. And so I think if, whether it's in all our small neck of the woods, with our company, creating content and, giving space for that, pandemic was a good example of like many companies, I feel like, kind of went on a complete pause of so many things. If anything, I think it was to their detriment that it gave too much space to that in the news cycle, or too much pause, versus like, sorry, like, you've got a business to run. Like, you've got to promote, you've got to show up for your clients, you've got to create content, and you can't pause your life entirely to not keep showing up in that way. So I don't know if it articulated that in the best way I wanted to, because I definitely wanted to be sensitive. But hey, it's in, there's other businesses and there's millions and millions of other people who need that, need to give recognition, but also still need their livelihood and the importance of promoting, and it's okay to focus on other topics and other things as well.
Well, I disagree, Dallin. I think you're evil for thinking that.
Oh man.
No, it is interesting because I feel like I think now that social media is just so, I really think that just like ever since the pandemic, it's been so interesting to see a lot of these big brands or these big companies, now that they have a social media presence, how they react to times of global trials and intense things that happen. So I think one of the reasons why companies find these times super stressful is because whatever messaging they put out, if they do choose to keep marketing their brand or continue business as usual, a lot of times those messages can come across to the public as kind of more trivial or out of touch. And I think a lot of businesses are afraid of coming across that way. So sometimes, I don't know, is it even worth it to market during those times? Because are you just going to come across as like super trivial and out of touch? I have seen a lot of companies do this really effectively. This is just an example, but I saw a catering company that's based in California. They started, and not that they were doing this with only the intention of marketing their business, but they did pull together a lot of people and a lot of volunteers to make meals for the families that were affected. And of course that blew up because people love a good wholesome story. They love to see the community coming together, and they did a lot of good for the people in that area. So I think there is a way to be sensitive, and especially for these bigger brands when they have lots of money and they have lots of ways that they can contribute and help the people in the area. I think there's a way that you can stay relevant even during this time when brands maybe want to stay a little bit quiet, or they feel like they should shut their marketing completely down.
Different crises can enable certain types of brands to shine, right? Like a catering company. If you were a tent manufacturer, what a great time. If you were a home builder, if you were, you know what I'm saying? Like there's all these different things you could do to like step in and really make a difference. And not only like, cause we're in business to like afford our life, but also like to make a positive impact. So, but granted, like every year there's a couple months of the year that some huge companies change their logo to different colors to try and appear connected, and it's very disingenuous. So you don't want it to come off like that, right? You want it to have some actual substance. So I think there's a certain life cycle on when to and how large certain companies are. Sometimes it doesn't matter what they'll do. It'll always come off as stiff and not realistically genuine.
I think a lot of people are really skeptical, especially of those big brands, when it comes to, certain months of the year or when certain crises happen. Of course, they're going to put out a message so that they stay in the good graces of the public, but is it really genuine? Are they really, actively every day trying to make a difference for the things that they say that they support and promote? Probably not. So that is another side of it.
Yeah. Well, we're all in this together was a common phrase from businesses during 2020. And of course it's a good message, but it was so like, I'm glad we're all able to move on from that year. I did want to hit on one area. We watched the movie Twisters the other day.
Dude, I was just thinking this too. I literally was just thinking this too when you said that.
So it's super relevant, right? Because like there's two sides of this, of the storyline. For those who don't know Twisters, it's a fictional story. It makes it seem like tornadoes happen every single day in Oklahoma, essentially. Like dramatic, over the top, but it was very fun, engaging movie. But there's, the future actor who's going to play Superman, David something, Corn Sweat. And then there's like, the heartthrob, what's his name again? Glenn Powell. There we go.
Every man wants to be him, and every woman wants to be with him. So it's like that's the guy. I mean, who doesn't want to, like, he's in a really good movie that I just barely saw as well. The Hitman. If you guys have another.
Hitman was good.
Phenomenal.
Top Gun.
Oh
So,
yeah, he's great.
and anyways, like he and the other gal, right? Like they're tornado chasers, and they're there basically representing like the goodwill of humankind to respond to disasters and support the people side of the disaster and the human side. And then it portrays like David Corn Sweat's character and kind of the corporate America who's capitalizing on disaster and like devastation. And basically what they're doing is they're swooping in and introducing a business opportunity. And it's, hey, like it's interesting, right? Because like, sure, you can hate on what they're doing, but they're still offering a solution that those who are in a place of challenge and suffering, they need that solution of like, I think it was, if you remember, Brenden, right? It was construction, it was home building.
I think they were doing like a real estate type thing. They were coming in, and they were purchasing all the land, and then they're going to develop it to make.
Okay. Oh, is that what it was?
So
okay.
They were coming in, they're like, oh, your home's all the way destroyed. Here, how about we just pay for all of it, and then they build it up to make their own communities the way they want. So basically, just preying on the desperation of people.
So yeah,
it was a little more sinister.
That's
kind of what I'm worried about. LA, like it happened in Lahaina, Hawaii too. Like the second those fires happened, and we went to Hawaii the year before that happened. So it's like hit a little. Our little hotel we went to was in Lahaina, so it was everywhere we went gone, like completely effing gone now. And so the people would come in, BlackRock, State Street, private equity firms would come and approach these Hawaiian families that just lost everything, and they're like, "Hey, we'll buy this off you." It's very predatory. It's a bad way to do business. Like I fully do not endorse that. If we work with companies that do that, I would need to consider very strongly and have a very good conversation to see why they would think that's okay. But,
So yeah, I mean, what I remembered was a little bit different, but yeah, no, that makes sense. I do remember that detail now of Twisters, but it is one of those things where it's like, you know, devastation and challenge creates opportunity for good and bad.
Yeah.
Of companies to step in, new companies to start, you know. So whenever there is a failure of so to speak in one area, there's a success in another, you know, for good and bad reasons. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a fictional take of a very real world application that happened during the pandemic. You know, like as you mentioned, Hawaii, the hurricanes, the fires, and so yeah, you know, I think it's impossible to please everyone, and there's opportunities, you know, every angle you take. But yeah, something to consider. Being in the marketing space is like, hey, how do you market when TikTok, you know, the one of the most adored social media platforms by Gen Zers alike, misunderstood by boomers. You know, what do you do when that, you know, is looking like it's going to disappear, or there'll be new opportunities for businesses to step in and take that market share, or during, you know, the destruction and, you know, unfortunate challenges that are taking place in California, you know, what is the response? And how can you keep promoting, or how can you capitalize in good ways to continue to grow your business and support other people as well, serve other people? So any final thoughts before we wrap up? All good. All right. Well, hey, thanks for joining on this live Content Spy Live. Make sure to like, subscribe, you know, to our channel. We're going to be sharing a lot more tips, strategies, and insights of what's working now in marketing and helping you become a media company. That means creating daily content across all channels that your audience spends their time on. So that way you can increase your visibility, get more leads, get more sales, and grow your business. And until next time, thanks for joining us.